5, 4, 1. Okay, Bakshi ji, go ahead.
Savadika, good evening, namaste, Sat Sri Akal. This is DK Bakshi from GKPD Thailand chapter. Right now in India, in COVID, I wish I was present at Bangkok personally, but Covaxin approval from WHO stops me to be there. India has crossed 1 billion doses yesterday, which is a hallmark, and India deserves praise for its such a strong vaccination program. However, India is still struggling for the Covaxin approval from WHO, which we all understand why it is not coming. Today, we are physically present in Bangkok, in Soi Yisip Song, Soi 22, Marriott Hotel, as well as on the virtual mode, to together go through that tough process of hashtag Black Day, 22nd October 1947. I would request everybody who is present in the physical mode in the hotel, as well as who are on the virtual mode from different parts of the world, please let's have silence for 2 minutes for all those Kashmiri Pandits, Sikhs who have been killed, and army personnel who have been killed since 1947 in Kashmir Valley. So may I request everybody with folded hands for a 2-minute silence, please. Kapun Mark the Cup, thank you so much. We just remembered those people, and there are thousands of people from the minority community of Kashmiri Pandits and Sikhs and the army personnel who have been killed with a proxy war. Ladies and gentlemen, today when we are talking about this Black Day, 22nd October 1947, this is the time when Kabalis across the border took to guns, loot, rape, and entered Baramulla with a mission, Gulmarg, and kept killing minorities on the way to capture Kashmir, which they dreamed, which has not been fulfilled to today, and which will never be fulfilled for Pakistan ever in life, because their intentions were totally bad, and Kabalis kept on massacring Kashmiri Pandits and Sikhs all over from Gulmarg, from Baramulla up to Tangmarg. This is the time when my grandfather was given 20 bullets in his chest by Kabalis from across the border. And my father, who was 16-year-old, was watching from the top of the tower along with the family members, and they just saved their life. This is the true story of Bakshi family. And it is not only Bakshi family's story. Every Kashmiri Pandit, every Sikh has a story to share. And this has continuously been happening because in 1990, a major disaster of Kashmir took place, which was exodus of Kashmiri Pandits and Sikhs from Kashmir Valley. And I repeat, it was not only an exodus, it was a genocide, genocide, and genocide. We Kashmiri Pandits are still waiting for getting us that approval that it was a genocide. It is not an exodus. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan has always been playing the games of entering Kashmir. Even today, the present Prime Minister, who actually was a sportsman, turned to be Taliban Khan. Imran Khan is Taliban Khan, who is trying to create havoc even now. Unfortunately, two families in Kashmir Valley, Muftis and Abdullahs, and they must listen to this, Muftis and Abdullahs are the real culprits of this disaster created by them for the minority community. Remember Taliban Khan, Imran Khan, and Muftis and Abdullahs, Kashmiri Pandits and Sikhs will again go back to the valley one day in safe condition. Ladies and gentlemen, the story of this exodus genocide was not known to people in India and the global world. It's only since 2014, when Prime Minister Modi came to power, this story started unfolding around. And we at Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora GKPD have been working as a civil society, talking to the world, to the United Nations, and the people across the world, what this genocide has been. So today, when I am presenting you speakers from USA, UK, Canada, Australia, and India, who are themselves the victims of this genocide. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very painful day for each Kashmiri Pandit and a Sikh who belongs to that state, and they will narrate their stories. We have less time in hand, but within a short period of time, I would request my fellow Kashmiri Pandits, and of course, we have Kashmiri Pandit available in the audience there in the hotel, as well as we have Mr. Manjeet Singh available as representing Sikh there. Later on, they will also join us, and Khun Satish Saigal will also be talking in Thai. May I request the first speaker, Mr. Jeevan Zitshi. Mr. Jeevan Zitshi lives in California, USA. Mr. Zitshi has written 2 books on Kashmir exodus, and I would request Mr. Jeevan Zutshi to please share his thoughts and the pain and the agony he has been going through. Mr. Zivas, it's 5 a.m. in California. Thank you very much for being here. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bakshi. And good morning from California. It's indeed a privilege to be sharing this platform with other distinguished speakers representing global Kashmiri Pandit diaspora, GKPD, from across the globe. And thank you again, Mr. Bakshi, for organizing it and moderating this both live and virtual conference today. A spate of recent reprehensible killing of innocents in Srinagar has shocked the entire civilized world. Peace be on the souls of those innocent people. My talk today will briefly delve into the ancient history of Kashmir, the events leading from the first tribal invasion of Pakistan in 1947 till the seventh exodus of Kashmiri Pandits, which was back in 1989-1990. I'm going to read out some excerpts from a chapter on Kashmir, my ancestral home, which can be found in my book, Earth on Trial, Fighting the Visible and Invisible Enemies. This second book was released last year in the month of November. Ancient Kashmir was home to a majority Hindu and Buddhist population for thousands of years and was renowned as a center for Hindu and Buddhist learning. Islamic invaders from Central Asia took control in the 14th century. Under the Islamic rule, Hindus faced periods of persecution, resulting in mass migrations from the region roughly once a century until the late 1700s. In the early 1800s, Sikh rulers controlled the region, followed by a Hindu dynasty from the mid-1800s through 1947. Regarding the independence movement, some Kashmiris say that Kashmir was always independent, as has very correctly been narrated that this is historically incorrect. Kashmir was only independent till 1587, when the last independent ruler, Yusuf Shah Chak, was deposed and exiled by Mughal Emperor Akbar, who incorporated Kashmir into the Mughal Empire. Later, it passed under Afghan, Sikh, and Dogra rule and ultimately came under the British. Maharaja Hari Singh was only nominally independent, but like other princely states in India, the real ruler of Kashmir was the British, who had their army there. The historic region of Kashmir has a total area of 85,807 square miles and is now divided between three countries: Pakistan occupied Kashmir, and the northern areas occupied approximately 30,000 square miles. China controls about 16,000 square miles of Kashmir, while the remaining territory forms the Indian Union territories UT of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. The total population of Jammu and Kashmir is 12,267,000. Muslims comprise a majority in the Kashmir Valley, while Hindus are a majority in Jammu. In Ladakh, UT, the population is 274,000. Muslims account for a slight majority with a significant Buddhist population and a smaller number of Hindus. When the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir became part of the Republic of India in 1947, shortly thereafter, Pakistani armed forces and Pashtun tribesmen invaded the area, forcing the largest Kashmiri political party to approve the accession. Indian forces were deployed to counter the attacks by Pakistan, In 1948, the United Nations Security Council passed Resolution 47, requiring all Pakistani military personnel to be withdrawn from the region before a plebiscite, which would have confirmed the people's wishes to join India. Instead, Pakistan increased its military presence and no plebiscite was held. At the time of partition, the new nation state of Pakistan, a place created for Muslims, claimed that Kashmir was an unfinished task of division. The founder of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he described Kashmir as an unfinished task of division. Bhutto took it further by proclaiming a 1,000-year war with India. If this was not enough, General Zia-ul-Haq's doctrine of 1,000 cuts to bleed India fostered and nurtured separatism, terrorism, and fundamentalism, thus making Kashmir what it is today. Consequently, Pakistan became a player by supporting this deep-seated separatist agitation with finance, training, and alleged boots on the ground. To completely Islamize Kashmir, Pakistan was able to capitalize on this by financing, arming, and training militant groups across the border, and ethnic cleansing of the Kashmiri Pandits was undertaken on January 19, 1990. Many secular Muslims and intellectuals who did not become part of this also were killed. Pakistan's proxy war in Kashmir began in 1989. An insurgency sponsored by Pakistan's military and intelligence service engulfed the Kashmir Valley. Former Pakistani ambassador to the United States, Hussain Haqqani, said the ISI-supported jihad in Kashmir was rooted in the ideology of Pakistani Islamists, carefully nurtured for decades by the Pakistani military. Since then, thousands of civilians have been killed in militant-related violence. Alas, the beautiful valley of Kashmir became a bed of Islamic terrorism, and the campaign of intimidation and harassment worsened in the late 80s with a growing influence of the straight-laced interpretation of Islam propagated through Wahhabism. Thank you very much for listening, and Jai Hind. Thank you.
Jeevan Zachi Saab, thank you so much. You have been in US fighting for the cause of Kashmiri Pandits and the minorities of Kashmir Valley. Thank you for sharing. We don't have time, so we have to be limited and short. May I request Utpal Kol, GKPD International Coordinator, to share his pain, agony of what has happened to the community. And Sir Utpal Kolji, I know all of you can talk for hours, but we have a limited time, 4 minutes, please. Thank you so much.
Namaskar, Thailand. Good evening, Thailand. Sat Shri Akal, Thailand. Thank you very much, Bakshi Saab and GKPD Thailand, for giving me this opportunity to talk to some of our friends physically who are seeing, and all those who are watching on Facebook and in this Zoom room. Let me tell you that state of Pakistan within 2 months decided that they will attack Kashmir, because there is a majority of Muslims living in Kashmir, and so they organized these tribals, but in fact it was Pakistani militia, Pakistani army behind it. They attacked from 3 places: Karan Karna, from Uri Baramulla, and Muzaffarabad. To cut it short, I tell you, they massacred 11,000 people, right from Muzaffarabad, Baramulla, and Karan. And there is a book called Krishna Ganga Ki God Mein, and where Sikh women and Hindu women jumped in the Jahannam, they jumped in Krishna Ganga, and these buggers bought dead bodies out and raped dead bodies. They took 1,500 women and sold them for 2 rupees each in the markets of Peshawar. So it's a long story. I can narrate it for 1 hour, what happened on 22nd of October. But it may be surprising for all of you when I thank Pakistan. Thank you very much that you attacked, and our brave soldiers defeated you within 2 months. And one of the greatest military operations after World War II was launched by Indian Army when they took big tanks to Zojila Pass. And if we would not have done ceasefire, we could have had Gilgit, Muzaffarabad, Kotli, Bhimber, and also Baltistan, because Indian forces were marching ahead. And within 4 days, Maharaja Hari Singh signed accession treaty with India. So I thank Pakistan. It could have taken 6 months, or it could have taken 1 year or 2 years that Jammu and Kashmir was part of India. And Pakistan made it possible within days. And then again, Pakistan attacked in 1971. They attacked in 65 also, but they were miserably defeated, and Lahore was only 16 kilometers from Indian soldiers. They attacked in 1971, and Indian army changed the history and geography of subcontinent. And I love the number 93,000. It is unique in the world history that these who call themselves as Ghazis, they were not only defeated, they were humiliated when 93,000 put their arms and they were taken in central India as prisoners. It was the goodwill of government of India and Indira Gandhi that we let them go. Otherwise, they could have been rotten here, all these 93,000. But this is the gesture, this is the Indian culture, this is the Indian civilization, how human we are. Vasudeva Kutumbakam, whole world is one family is our motto. But I, Utpal Kaul, and my family and my community are victims of genocide. And this genocide is lashed by these Pakistani buggers. Pakistan is a failed state. And if we will not declare it now as terrorist state, they may create big mischief. Because they say that we have defeated America with Americans in Afghanistan. They were totally defeated, but what they did, they sent some money, some motivated young men, and arms. Do you know how much arms Pakistan sent to Kashmir? The arms which were used, the amount of arms which were used in World War I, more than that were used in Kashmir for last 32 years. 500,000 AK-47 rifles, 500,000 Kalashnikov guns, explosive materials, rocket launchers. And what happened with this? They are responsible for killing 100,000 Kashmiris, which included Hindus, which included Sikhs, and which included Muslims itself. We must not forget what they did with Sikhs in Sangrampura, what they massacred even children in Vandahama, and how they killed 32 Sikhs in Sangrampura and also in Chhattisgarh. And Article 370, abolition of Article 370 and 35A. And it was a great victory for Kashmiris and for all Indians who wanted peace and progress in Kashmir. But it was a big shock for Pakistan because nothing happened. The day Article 370 and 35A was abolished, there was peace and prosperity. And Indian government decided to invest $1 billion in Kashmir. I repeat, $1 billion in Kashmir, and we could have seen 5 million tourists coming. Fruit industry, handicraft industry, and IT industry developing in big way in Kashmir. But Pakistan was not happy with it. Pakistan wanted that they will create a kind of anarchy in Kashmir. There are 1 million Kashmiris. I am also one of them. Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Dogras doing their business in the rest of the country in different parts of India. And there were only 300,000 workers, laborers, vendors, working for development of Kashmir, working in the tilling the land, working in the road construction, construction of houses, working in the industry, and helping the economy of Kashmir. But Pakistan played such a trick, killing the most gentleman who never left Kashmir, Mr. Amal Bakhalal Bindru, a person who was giving them medicine and helping them. He was killed at the age of 70. Then as such a kind Sikh lady, principal of a school, she was taking privately care of orphan children. Other than the principal of the school, she was taking care of orphan children. She was assassinated and she was only 45. Then they killed a Dogra who was in the same school as teacher. Then they killed a Golgappe wala, a vendor, and a carpenter, a Muslim carpenter from Saharanpur. So they gave message across the spectrum in the society that they killed a Kashmiri Pandit, they killed a Sikh, they killed a Bihari, they killed a Muslim from Saharanpur. But I want to tell the Pakistan, and I want to tell these terrorists, you will be defeated very soon. And we are coming to Kashmir. Now Kashmir, for not only these 3 lakh people, Kashmir is for all Indians. Like for all Kashmiris, India is their motherland, and for all Indians, Kashmir is their motherland. They can live and they can enjoy in Kashmir. So we are going to defeat this Taliban jihadi mentality of Pakistan. Otherwise, Pakistan is definitely going to be in hell, in big mess. Thank you very much. Thank you all for giving me patient hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Utpalji. Utpalji has been into volunteerism last 40 years, and he has been regularly working for the community. And as Kashmiri Pandits, I would like to communicate to the global world, even after this genocide and exodus, we did not take to the guns. We built our future generations like our forefathers. They focused us on education. We also focused on our child education and all our children. And today when you see Kashmiri Pandits around the world, they are great doctors, engineers, business leaders, entrepreneurs, vice chancellors, directors of IIMs, as well as well-known Bollywood actors, sportsmen in any field. Thank you, Utpalji, for your quick deliberation. May I now request Dr. Shephalika Ban Kotwal. She is the GKPD coordinator from England. Please share your thoughts and the pain and the agony. Dr. Shephalika.
Thank you, Bakshiji. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone in Thailand. It's great to see you all listening to our story. Now, we have webinars every year on this very sad day, and here we are again. The reason we have these webinars is to share our story, because I firmly believe that there is a lot to learn from our history and what has happened to us for the international community and our fellow citizens of the world like you are in Thailand. Now, as Winston Churchill famously said, those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. So in our case, sadly, that has been the case. Our history has been forgotten. And every so many years, the history of genocide keeps repeating. So if there's anything from our story which you can take home or share with other people from our very, very sad story, I think that would be a lot of our job done today. So where should I begin? So I'll begin with 1947. Obviously, I wasn't born there. But Bakshiji has talked about his family and how they suffered. And like Utpalji said, 11,000 people died. And then but I can talk to you about 1990 because I was there. I was a teenager. I was living in Kashmir. And you can say a microcosm of what happened in 1947 happened in 1990, but it was no less ghastly because in 1990, unlike in 1947, we were living in a democratic, socialist, secular, democratic Republic of India, citizens of India. And overnight, on 19th January 1990, we were living ordinary lives like most of us are living at the moment, like you all are living, going about in our day-to-day routines. And suddenly, overnight, we were left homeless, and 600 people were killed just on that night, and in total, more than 1,500 people there died, and 4 lakhs of refugees almost overnight. So you can say within a week, lakhs of families got displaced. Now, displaced, we went to our neighboring state, part of our state called Jammu. It's part of the same state, but it's away from Kashmir. And so if I will briefly touch on the night of January 1990, because I consider myself as a witness to that night. I was there. And the more I can share about that night, I feel that I have at least done something. And on that night, I was a teenager. I had just started medical school. And then suddenly I was watching television, and suddenly all the mosques started blaring things like, convert, die, or leave. And then this whole population, because we were a minority there, we were like 8% of the population. And we were scattered in pockets within the city. So, we were surrounded by the majority population, which seemed to work, at least at a superficial level till then. And suddenly all these people, they assembled on the roads, and you can imagine how horrifying that is, that you are alone in your home, not alone, I'm with my parents. And then this whole population descends outside, and they are having slogans like they are going to kill you or murder you. And it was reminiscent of what happened in 1947. And I remember my aunt who was with us, she said, this is exactly what happened then. Suddenly the whole population descends on me. And the next thing is that people are being killed, raped, murdered. So you can imagine the horror I encountered sitting in my home then. The next day we had no option. We just left the state because, a lot of people say, why did you leave? You should have fought. But what do you fight with? We are a very peace-loving citizens. I'm very proud to say that we are a very proud, peace-loving citizens of the world, and we have no weapons at home, thankfully, apart from some kitchen knives, and we could not fight this population with kitchen knives. So we had to save our life, and so we left. And you can call that cowardice, but I call it bravery because here we are 32 years later, we're still alive to tell the tale. But sadly, a lot of people died who could not escape, who were maybe living in areas where there was no escape, or they were caught unawares. A lot of people were caught unawares. People just came into their house and killed them. So, how can you fight such a mindset? So we left. There was no option. Some of us went to Jammu, and some of us went abroad. So really, the whole diaspora is spread across the world, and here we are telling our story. Now, I also want to briefly touch on the aftermath of the exodus. As somebody mentioned, I think Bakshiji, that we are a resilient community. No thanks to anyone, but just to how we are brought up. So we focused on education, and I think that was our savior, and we were able to sustain ourselves. Now, the sad bit is that because we were displaced within our country, we did not get refugee status. Because if we had got refugee status then, if we were as aware as we are now, then maybe things might have been slightly better. But we were displaced within the country, so we did get the refugee status, and so we had to really work our way upwards from scratch, from living in slums in very, very deprived areas. In Kashmir, we all had reasonably good average middle class lives with houses and jobs and everything. And now we were on the road. We had no jobs, no houses, no money. So we had literally start from point zero of studying under lamp posts on the streets, and then working our way upward, which thankfully most of us have done, but a lot of people are still in refugee camps in Jammu. If any of you are interested, we can show you the pictures that 32 years later, people are still living in camps. Now, like I said, I will touch a bit on the aftermath of the Exodus, which is really something I'm quite unhappy about because not much work has been done on the aftermath, because a lot of people not just lost their lives, but became victims of things like snake bites and dengue. And some of these illnesses are unheard of because we were living in temperate climates. And then suddenly we are thrown into very, very hot tropic climates. So things like malaria, dengue, and illnesses like tuberculosis, they're unheard of in Kashmir. And now suddenly we are in this place where these things are endemic. So that was, and then 800 people died because of these illnesses within 10 years. So you can add that to the figure of 1600, and you can imagine how many people died. And also lots of psychiatric illnesses. I'm a psychiatrist myself, and I feel really sad that nothing was done. Nothing was done for the psychiatric aftermath of the Exodus. And a lot of our people are suffering even today. So PTSD, things like depression are still rampant in our communities. Nothing was picked up, and people are suffering 30 years later. And I will stop at that because it's a very, very long story. I don't want to go into details because there are other speakers more eminent or more knowledgeable than me. I'm not a historian. I can just tell you my story. And I hope there are some learning points in it. Thank you, Bakshi Saab, for organizing this. And great to see you all in Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shakalika Ban. And it has been really painful for Kashmiri Pandits and Sikhs that continuously last 3 decades, we are still waiting to go back to our Matrabhumi, our hometown where we are born. We wish to go back, and we had a couple of years back in 2019, 370, as Utpal Kolji said, and 35A gone. Lot of investment from Government of India into Kashmir. And we were ready to get into businesses there. We were ready to set up business schools there. We were ready to set up a lot of facilities there. Unfortunately, again, those vested interested people, and especially the 2 families of Kashmir who are still trying to destroy that cord and, stop Kashmiri Pandits and Sikhs to be back to normal in their home country. This is the saddest part. Other day we had Junaid Matu Saab, the mayor of Srinagar, and you must listen to this great person. He is a Muslim. He is a mayor of Srinagar. And Mr. Junaid Matu could really say straight how these 2 families have stopped the growth of Kashmir. And every Kashmiri Muslim is looking for the growth today. Unfortunately, they are being stopped under the kind leadership of one and only Taliban Khan, Imran Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to move forward. May I request Ash Rana. Ash Rana is the GKPD coordinator from Brisbane, Australia, to share his thoughts, please.
Sawadee to everyone in Thailand. Namaste and Sat Sri Akal to everyone. I am Ash Rana, as Bakshiji pointed out. Bakshiji, first of all, thank you for organizing this. I think this is the first event in the last 2 years, which is a physical and virtual combination. So thank you for that, along with the team based out of Thailand. Now, a lot of things have been said by the speakers till now. Now, I do not want to repeat everything. I will just give you some pointers. Before the 14th century, Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir as a state was a Hindu, Buddhist and Sikh state. It was only in 14th century that Muslims came into picture. Now, before that, it was purely a Hindu, Sanatan Dharmi state. Now, everything changed after that. I would like to share some stories from my school days. Now, 1947, obviously, the Kabali raids, which everyone is talking about, and that is the day that is a bad day, which is today, 22nd of October, when Pakistani army, along with the tribal leaders, were sent through the borders of Jammu and Kashmir to loot, rape, and take control of the land. So that was the intention. Operation Gulmarg was the name given to it. Obviously, it couldn't succeed, and we know the story and we know the outcome of it. Jammu and Kashmir is a part of India. It is the crown of India, to put it that way. And I'm a proud Hindu who was living in Jammu and Kashmir and who has gone through genocide and exodus because I was a Hindu and I was an Indian at heart. And that is why we were attacked, we were raped, and we were given the option of convert, die, or leave. So those are the three options given to us, our community. And how did they do it? They did it by selective killing. Selective killing of major Kashmiri Hindus who lived in the valley. They selected one person, killed him on the road, and gave a message to all the neighbors saying, you don't belong here, so you have to leave. And then they came out with a list of Hindus who they wanted to kill. I mean, again, in this age, we're in the 21st century now. And if you are based in Thailand, I'm 100% sure that you would not agree with me that this has happened. But this has happened, all of you. This has happened. In the last 30 years, this has happened. And this has again continued to happen in the last 1 month with the Pakistani governments and ISI, which is known for this. Now, a couple of incidents. The government was hand in glove. The state government at that point of time was hand in glove. And as Bakshi Saab was pointing out, Farooq Abdullah and his family, Mufti Sayyid and his family, they were the families who ruled the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, they would change the merit list of engineering college, medical college, just to put their own people in there. Even though the list was with having 10 Hindus at the top, they would change the list, put 10 Muslims at the top. Again, it's unheard of. You cannot think of it in a democratic society, but unfortunately, this has happened. And this has been the root cause of our genocide. 500,000 people taken out from the valley, selective killing, and 7th exodus of Kashmiri Pandits happened in 1990, 19th of January, 1990. Now, I want to tell the world, through you also, who are listening to us, terrorism has no good or bad thing attached to it. Terrorism is terrorism. Now, if terrorism is stuck on India now, it tomorrow could strike anywhere else. Because we have seen what is happening in Afghanistan. And a sane mind would never think of nothing happening in Afghanistan or Pakistan in the next 5 or 10 years. They will wreak havoc in that part of the world. And from one place to the other, they want to have their own Sharia law, which is going to ruin the world. Now, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm dejected with all this, but I am proud. I'm proud of the roots which I come from the Kashmiri Pandit roots, Kashmiri Hindu roots, which I come from the seat of learning, which was Jammu and Kashmir. I leave it at that so that others can speak too. In the end, I would like to request all of you with folded hands. So out of this meeting, when you go out of this room from Hilton, if you can educate 1 or 2 people in your network about our story, about our genocide, I think that will be the greatest of the actions which we would expect from all of you. With that in my mind, thanks a ton, everyone.
Thank you, Ash Rana, a great volunteer. Ladies and gentlemen, all those speakers who are right now speaking on behalf of GKPD, they are great professionals. They are great professionals around the world, and they have made an impact in the professional capability only because of education. At the same time, they are the volunteers of Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora, which is around the world and spreading the message of our genocide. May I now go to Vidya Bhushan Dar, another Kashmiri Pandit who is the chapter head for Canada, Toronto. He comes from Toronto. Vidya Bhushan Dar, please go ahead.
Vidya, please unmute yourself.
Am I audible now? Namaskar and Swadikap to all my Thai friends who gave us this platform to look back into the time and remember those who lost their lives on today's day 74 years ago to the evil plans of just delivered rogue nation. Bakshiji, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Friends, India and Indians all over the world observe 22nd October as Black Day to mark the 1947 invasion of Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani raiders, supported by the army. Yes, friends, Pakistan, a newborn, forcibly delivered nation, still drenched in its amniotic fluids and just severed umbilical cord, still hanging, a rogue nation was born, which invaded Kashmir on October 22nd, 1947. Codenamed Operation Gulmarg, members of Pakistani armed forces under the command of Major Khurshid Anwar attacked Kashmir with the aim of total annihilation of non-Muslims in the region. Pakistani journalist Zahid Chaudhry in his book writes that between October 22nd and October 25th, Pakistani forces and invaders murdered 5,000 people and kidnapped 1,600 women belonging to the minority community. They looted the riches of Kashmir, raped the women, killed the men, and left a trail of destruction all around. According to an estimate, 35,000 Kashmiri Hindus and Sikhs were killed by Pakistani soldiers and tribals under their command. Kashmiris of all faith resisted this invasion. Many fought and died, including 19-year-old Maqbool Sherwani, whose courage was unparalleled. Friends, Raiders in Kashmir, a book written by retired Pakistani Army Major General Muhammad Akbar Khan, who took over the reins of this war from Major Khurshid Anwar, documents Pakistan's hand behind the aggression, as he clearly states in his book that Pakistan played the role of an aggressor. We are living in the 21st century. In present day, globally connected world, it's a battle of narrative. For a very long time, mainstream Indian regime has not seen the need to play its narrative the correct way. Or probably it was part of the cancel culture and whitewash history topped with appeasement policy to speak the truth of naming and shaming the villains of peace. The villains of the peace were, of course, the Pakistani leadership and the Pakistani deep state. The story of Pakistan's inhuman activities started from this date. Baramulla, for example, a rich provincial capital. General Akbar Khan in his book talks about how a population of 11,000 people, 11,000 innocent souls was reduced to 3,000 in a 48-hour spree. The casualties were mainly Hindus and Sikhs. And gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, rape was used as a war tool. Friends, tens of thousands of civilians lost their lives in this 15-month-long war, but it sowed seeds for the next war in 1965, followed by a war in 1971, where the Pakistani forces sharpened their war tool further, rape of hundreds of thousands of Bangladeshi women. The period between 1989 to today's 2021, 32 years of proxy war, 1999 Kargil war, and hundreds of cross-border infiltration, terror attacks, civilian bombings, and numerous hijackings. Pakistan still occupies the part of pristine land of Kashmir. The atrocities in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir continue. The proxy war in India still continues. That Pak stooges are again recreating the happenings of 1990, where another genocide was inflicted on the original Aborigines of Kashmiri, the Kashmiri Pandits. Invasion by Pakistan in Kashmir was one of the first ethnic cleansing carried out by Pakistan. They did it again in 1971 in Bangladesh. They're doing it on Balochis. They're doing it on minorities, reducing them to non-existence over a period of time. They are now doing it again in Afghanistan. As we remember the brave Kashmiris who lost their lives to Pakistani support of terrorism, the world must stop Pakistan from committing any more genocide. When is the world order and the United Nations taking cognizance of what Pakistan has been doing from the day it was created? It is a known fact that Pakistan has become the terror factory of the world. Any terror event anywhere in the world has direct or indirect connections with Pakistan. World at large should remember where the world's most wanted terrorist, Osama bin Laden, was found. The Financial Action Task Force has maintained Pakistan on its grey list once again. And all I can say is that shame on FATF. What is stopping them from putting this rogue nation on the blacklist and superpowers to declare it a rogue nation? Enough innocent blood has spilled time and again. But this monster is still playing its games. At best, the perpetrators of the continuous genocide of Kashmiri Hindus, a bane of India. Ladies and gentlemen, the eminent speakers on this panel spoke about 7 exoduses. Currently, the 8th exodus is happening. Kashmiri Hindus are being killed. Hindus from other regions are being killed. Sikhs are being killed. This platform should take our voice to the United Nations and make Pakistan pay for its support to terrorism. I close my eyes and pay homage to those innocent souls who lost their lives on this fateful day. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.
Thank you very much. You can see the agony and pain of all these speakers who have been the victims of this genocide. Remember a lady being raped in front of her husband and her body being cut into pieces, and the people from the other community opening the zip and pissing on the body. This has been the disaster of our community. When you remember this, when you hear about such stories, as I said, each minority has a story to share. A Kashmiri Pandit or a Sikh, when you meet a lady who is living in Delhi, her husband, when the militants came to the house and they left because they said her husband is not there. But the neighborhood said, no, he is there at the top attic, and he went into a drum of rice and he was given bullets into the drum itself, and he was murdered into the rice, bucket. And his wife was asked to cook that rice and eat it. This has been the process of disaster, genocide. When my fellow colleagues are asking and requesting United Nations to declare genocide, we are waiting for this. We are certainly grateful to Government of India. Since 2014, at least the message of our genocide, the exodus, which was under the carpet, at least got known to people. At least some of the media channels could support and give us opportunity to share our agony and pain. And of course, now social media is quite active. I am now requesting GKPD's youth wing lady, she is 19-year-old, Vanshika Bhatt. Vanshika is 19-year-old, she has never gone to Kashmir. She has never visited her hometown. She belongs to the DNA she is carrying in the body, the blood she is carrying from the Kashmir Valley. And she has never seen Kashmir Valley. Same is the case, my children have never seen Kashmir Valley. May I request Vanshika to share her thoughts and agony and what she knows about Kashmir. Over to Vanshika.
Namaskar to all. A very warm good evening from India to everyone present here. My name is Vanshika Bhatt, and as said by Bakshi sir, I am 19 years old and a student of University of Delhi. I was born in Jammu but brought up by my parents in Ghaziabad, Uttar Pradesh. So basically I was born after Exodus, and it's a very unfortunate thing for me that I haven't been to my homeland, my Kashmir yet. I personally haven't experienced or seen the migration and ethnic cleansing of our community way back in 90s, but I have heard about the same from my parents, my grandparents, and other elderly family members who have been the witnesses of the tragic time period. It gives me immense pain and fills me up with tears and sorrow while saying that things haven't changed yet in the valley. Things are the same. Decades and decades have passed away, but the actual residents of the valley, the Kashmiri Pandits, the Hindus, are still living outside their homeland with this sorrow as well as a fear of not being able to return safely and respectfully to their homeland and live there like before. I haven't been to Kashmir, but that doesn't mean that I'm not connected to it. Maybe not physically, but emotionally, I'm totally hitched up with my homeland. I still remember my father saying that how he used to get terrified when he was very young, when in jeeps with AK-47 and other ammunitions with them, those vicious terrorists would roam around outside with mics in their hands and shouting that "Redu Gali ya Salim," which means convert, die, or leave. I also remember my grandmother telling me that while migrating from the valley during those tense days, how she used to not wear her bindi in order to not come in target just for being a Kashmiri Pandit woman. I mean, there are tons of such horrifying incidents which have happened to lakhs of Kashmiri Pandits. And me being a young Kashmiri Pandit, it gives me chills down my spine. If I, who hasn't been to Kashmir yet, feels and thinks that, yes, one day we will live in our homeland safely and securely, then I think every single Kashmiri Pandit should feel and think the same way. The fire of returning back to Kashmir should always and always be alive in our hearts, no matter what we are doing right now or in which part of the world we are settled now. I believe it is our generation and the coming generations who have this responsibility to keep this agenda as well as this passionate fire for our community and the perseverance of its rich heritage and culture alive. And this thought of mine, this very thought of mine, always, every day motivates me to be there in my Kashmir. Thank you so much for listening me. And thank you so much, Bakshi sir, for having me today here and letting me share my feelings with you all, the feelings of a young Kashmiri Pandit with everyone. Thank you so much for listening me. Namaskar, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
Vanshika is our youth coordinator for GKPD International. And I wish, Vanshika, you soon go to Kashmir and live there. And I can see your pain from your fathers, your parents and grandfathers and grandparents. Now let me go to the physical people present in the audience at Marriott Soy Song, Soy 22 Sukhumvit. May I request Rohit Kachru, a Kashmiri Pandit living in Bangkok last 7 years. Please come to the dais. His family has also gone through pain. Please share your thoughts. Mr. Rohit Kachru, please come to the dais, please. Rohit Kachru, sir? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bakshiji, for the introduction. Namaskar, Swadikab. Good evening, Sat Sri Akal to everyone. Good afternoon to people in Europe. Good morning to people in America. My name is Rohit Kachru. I am a Kashmiri Pandit. I and my family have lived in Bangkok for the last 8 years. I'm happy to have been provided with an opportunity to share my experiences in Kashmir. We have spent our childhood in Kashmir, one of the most naturally beautiful places on earth. Kashmir was our home, our world, our life, and our everything. Coming from a middle-class family back then, Kashmir was the only place we knew. Except traveling to Jammu once in a while, Kashmir was my significant world for 18 years of my life. Certainly much longer for my parents and family. And suddenly, everything changed in the year 1990. Our happy existence, peace of mind was taken away, not only for me, but for my family and for my community. We were attacked, we were threatened, we were forced to flee leaving everything behind. What was built in generations was lost perhaps in a single day when many of us decided to move to safer places in the country. Did we have a choice? No, we did not. A non-violent, highly educated community against radical Islamists, militants, and terrorists, it was a difficult balance for us. The period in time is engraved in our memory. The fear, the threatening messages, the killing of so many well-known Hindu personalities, the hurt and the sufferings. Basically, it was a genocide which was stage managed from across the border. Who doesn't know the events of 19 January 1990? On that day, mosques issued declarations that the Kashmiri Pandits were kafirs and that the males had the option to leave Kashmir, convert to Islam, or be killed. Those who chose to move out were told to leave their women behind. Well laid out plans and instructions were given to identify Pandit homes so that they could be systematically targeted or converted to Islam. My memory of those days, and in particular 19th January, is so vivid and frightening that for the next 30 years, I have never ever gone back to my birthplace. And this story is not mine alone. There are many thousands who share the same story. Fast forward to the current times, it's only since the BJP government and Modi ji came to power, and especially since year 2019, when the draconian Article 370 and 350 were abolished, that many of us got the confidence and hope that Kashmiri Pandits might be able to go back, at least sometime in our lifetime. We all saw a glimmer of possibility that we would be able to see our land and take our kids to see that place where we and our forefathers had been brought up, to relive our memories and to share them with our generation, next generations. But the happiness and hope seems to be short-lived. When we see the developments in the last few months, the anti-national elements have once again decided to wreak havoc on the minuscule minorities. The pain, the fear, the hurt has returned. Our heart and mind has grown bolder than before, yet the threat of life and security is a serious concern that will still haunt us back to the horrific events in 1990, the wounds of which are still fresh in our minds. Can we not go back to our peaceful living in our own state, in our own country, with a government which is supporting rehabilitation of Pandits in Kashmir? We ask everyone, and especially those in power and in policy making, who can influence or decide in order to make a difference. If we do not go back today, then when? We have already lost a lot of time and many things associated. We have faced immense pain and suffering that is hard to describe. And it's very difficult to express the same in words. Now is the time for quicker actions and faster sustainable results for Kashmiri Pandits. I really look forward to everyone's help and support in this serious situation. Thank you so much for your attention. Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
Thank you so much, Rohit Kachruji, to share your pain as a Kashmiri Pandit. Now I'll go to another important community of minorities in Kashmir. And we have been talking that this exodus, this genocide is not only of Kashmiri Pandits, but our own Sikh community. I am now requesting Sardar Manjeet Singh Ji, past president of our Gurdwara, Pohorat, Bangkok, who represents the Sikh community of Thailand, to please come to the dais. Sardar Manjeet Singh Saab, aye sir, please come to the dais. And I am really thankful to you that you decided to be here, and over to you, sir.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sawasdee Krap. I am as a representative of the Sikh community in Thailand. After hearing all of the speakers, I come to the very conclusion that our Guruji, the ninth Guru of the Sikh, had decided rightly to protect the Kashmiri Pandits, because our Guruji never ever asked us to betray the truth. If you follow the path of the truth, you need not to be scared of anyone. If, as you told, the Pakistanis are sponsoring all this terrorism, I have heard a number of times. My father has been telling me about the agony and distress during the partition. I just understand how dreadful, how treacherous it was that. I do pity with you people all. And as a Sikh community, I pledge to be with you always. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my privilege to be here. In the year 1947, Kashmiri Pandit as well as Sikh become the victims of terrorism, vandalism, and atrocities. Our people were brutally attacked, raped, and murdered. Again, in the year 1990, we have been done so repeatedly. May I ask you one question? Why should we always take a slap again and again? Do not we have courage enough? I have been taught during my days that a coward died many times before his death. So need not be a coward. I know that they are not fighting face to face, because had they been fighting face to face, they would have been defeated long time back. But remember one fact also, they have just got a booster. What booster? The Taliban. The victory of Afghanistan by Taliban is give a booster to Imran Khan. What do you say, Taliban Khan? Be careful, he got a booster. And they are energetic now, and they will try the level best to put us to subdue us. And this was just a simple example that they are doing. Our principal has been killed, a Sikh principal. I do pity with them. I do pity with her, a bereaved family. And as I have been told that she run an orphan also. How can they be so inhuman? My Guruji asked me always to be human before you realize to being a Sikh. Before being a Sikh, be a human first. I stand by you, all the Kashmiri Pandit. I stand by all the Sikh family and all other minorities. And I am really, really very sorry for the bereaved family. Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. One day, Mataram.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Khapun Maak na khap, khun manjit na khap, khapun khap. Ladies and gentlemen, this pain and agony shared by speakers already, whether Kashmiri Pandit or Sikh, the minorities of Kashmir, still living in exile in the country, as well as in the global world at various places, focusing on building the future generation. You could see Vanishka Bhatt. This youth will take this forward. We have short life now, another 20, 25 years, but we will, and we will go back to our hometown. That is what Prutpal Kaulji always says. Hum aa rahe hain, we are coming back to Kashmir Valley. Ladies and gentlemen, with us, we have someone who is a very respected gentleman, a man of excellence. I have personally worked with him as Secretary General of India Thai Business Association. Kun Satish Saigal, the President of India Thai Business Association. And when we worked together for near about 10 to 12 years, he has been driving it very strongly, and he has been a great Indian. And I would request Kun Satish Saigal to please share his thoughts. And Mr. Satish Saigal is going to be speaking in Thai. 60 years in Thailand, and he has been the advisor to almost 6 commerce and industry ministers of Kingdom of Thailand. Satish Saigal ji, please take the podium, and over to you for next. You asked me, give me more time. I will give you at least 6 minutes time to speak in Pasa Thai.
So DKG, before Satish comes on the stage,
Yes.
we have Dr. Kiran Bedi with us on the Zoom. So you might want to. She's on the Zoom.
Oh, she's already here.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Namaskar, Kiran Bedi ji.
Namaste. Her Excellency Dr. Kiran Bedi, welcome to this evening. It is the first time physical and digital mode. We are celebrating, rather we are focusing on our hashtag Black Day, 22nd October 1947, when the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits and Sikh community started. So Kun Satish Saigal, then can we have you, Kun Satish Saigal, can we have Dr. Bedi first, and then we can have Kun Satish Saigal? You will stay here? Okay. Okay, Dr. Bedi is, I need not introduce Dr. Bedi because she is well known around the world. Kun Satish Saigal, please come on the dais, please. Kun Satish Saigal not up? As I said, he is the only Indian in Thailand who has been the advisor to ministers of commerce and industries, 6 ministers of commerce and industry. He is the Indian who actually distributed 1 million pictures of our great king of Thailand around the country. Kun Satish Saigal, as president of India Thai Business Association, has been taking up issues of India and Thailand together. And I had the honor of working with him as a Secretary General for near about 10 to 12 years' time. Kun Satish Saigal, over to you, and you are going to be speaking in Pasa Thai. And go ahead, sir.
DK, I thought Shri Kiran Bedi was going, since she's online at the moment. I can wait. I'd love to hear Shri Kiran Bedi. She visited Thailand a few years ago, and I feel a privilege to hear her. I am a great admirer of Shri Kiran Bedi, so I'd very much like, may I suggest that we listen to Shri Kiran Bedi before I present my views?
I'll be happy to hear him first.
I think you go ahead, Satish Saigal, you go ahead, and then we'll have Dr. Kiran Bedi, and that is better because that is the format.
Okay.
Go ahead, Satish Saigal. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I try and sum up what has been deliberated this evening, I'd like to first of all thank my very dear friend DK Bakshi, who I must say is a great friend of Thailand. He lived in Thailand for many, many years. And while he was the secretary of the India Thai Business Association, DK did a fantastic job developing the bilateral relations between the two countries. On that note, with the permission of all my friends overseas and those that are present here this evening, may I make my presentation in Thai. Before I start with my presentation, may I tell you a little bit about the Indians in Thailand. Whereas the Kashmiri Pandits went through a very difficult period, I must say that we Indians who migrated to Thailand from the year 1880, we were very fortunate that we as refugees were accepted by the magnanimous people of Thailand. We have lived in peace in this country for over 100 years. We are grateful to His Majesty the King, Rama the Ninth, Rama the 10th, and we owe to the people of this country. We enjoy all privileges. Our children born in Thailand speak the language. We have assimilated into the Thai society. We thank the Thai people. We thank the Thai government, and we are grateful indeed to the royalty of Thailand. ท่านผู้มีเกียรติที่รักและเคารพครับก็ผมมีความรู้สึกเศร้าที่ได้มีโอกาสมาแสดงความคิดเกี่ยวกับพ่อแม่พี่น้องชาวแคชเมียร์เขาใช้คำว่าบัณฑิตผมศึกษาประวัติศาสตร์มาได้รับการศึกษาในประเทศอินเดียที่มหาวิทยาลัยเดลีและช่วงที่เป็นนักศึกษาที่มหาวิทยาลัยเดลีก็ได้มีโอกาสศึกษาประวัติศาสตร์ชาวแคชเมียร์ปัญหาของชาวแคชเมียร์เนี่ยไม่ได้เพิ่งเริ่มตั้งแต่สมัยที่มุกุลปกครองประเทศอินเดียมีกษัตริย์องค์หนึ่งชื่อออรังเซบตั้งแต่ออรังเซบเข้ามาปกครองประเทศอินเดียมีการทำลายเผ่าพันธุ์ทั่วประเทศแต่กลุ่มที่โดนทรมานมากที่สุดก็คือพ่อแม่พี่น้องชาวแคชเมียร์ที่นับถือศาสนาฮินดูแคชเมียร์เคยเป็นรัฐที่มีชาวฮินดูเป็นสัดส่วนใหญ่แต่ได้มีการบังคับให้เปลี่ยนศาสนาจนกระทั่งวันนี้มีแค่ประมาณ 3% ของประชากรในรัฐแคชเมียร์กันยามูที่นับถือศาสนาฮินดูแต่สิ่งที่ผมอยากจะชี้แจงให้ท่านทั้งหลายได้รับทราบก็คือสิ่งที่ท่านได้รับฟังจากท่านวิทยากร8 ท่านคือผมจะพยายามสรุป ความรู้สึกของแต่ละท่านเริ่มตั้งแต่คุณบักชีได้เล่าประวัติของประเทศอินเดียที่ได้รับเอกราชหลังจากเป็นทาสของอังกฤษมา200 ปีในปี 1947 ก็น่าจะรับได้ว่าที่เขาใช้คำว่าอินเดียแต่ผมไม่อยากจะใช้คำว่าอินเดียนะครับชื่อของเราก็คือภารตะอินเดียนี่เป็นชื่อที่อังกฤษเรียกพวกเราแต่ชื่อเดิมของเราก็คือภารตะในปี 1947 มีการแบ่งแยกประเทศที่เคยเรียกว่าอินเดียมาเป็นอินเดียและปากีสถานการแยกประเทศก็แยกโดยคำนึงถึงศาสนาปากีสถานก็กลับมาเป็นประเทศที่มีชาวมุสลิมเป็นส่วนใหญ่นะครับแต่ในมุมกลับกันภารตะไม่เคยประกาศว่าอินเดียเป็นบ้านของชาวฮินดูผมมีความจำเป็นต้องเล่าให้ท่านทั้งหลายได้รับทราบนะครับแต่ทั้งนี้ทั้งนั้นในปี 1948 ก็มีปัญหาที่พวกท่านทั้งหลายได้ฟังจากท่านวิทยากรที่ได้กล่าวถึงสิ่งที่ท่านได้พบสิ่งที่ท่านได้เห็นและสิ่งที่เกิดขึ้นกับท่านในปี 1948 ประเทศปากีสถานได้นำทหารและกลุ่มจากส่วนหรือภาคต่างๆจากปากีสถานเข้ามาพยายามที่จะยึดรัฐแคชเมียร์ในปี 1948 สหประชาชาติเข้ามาไกล่เกลี่ยเริ่มจากให้มีการ ceasefire ให้หยุดนะครับก็ปรากฏว่ามี ceasefire เกิดขึ้นโดยที่ตั้งแต่ปี 1948 ปากีสถานไม่เคยยอมรับว่าจัมมูแอนด์แคชเมียร์เนี่ยเป็นส่วนหนึ่งของอินเดียเป็นปัญหาที่มีมาตลอดจนกระทั่งทุกวันนี้นายกรัฐมนตรีแต่ละท่านของปากีสถานเนี่ยมองอินเดียเป็นศัตรูมาตลอดและทำทุกขนวิธีทางที่จะส่งผู้ก่อการร้ายในทุกรูปแบบเข้าไปทำทุกอย่างกับประชากรส่วนน้อยเราใช้คำว่า minority ก็คือ Kashmiri Pandits ท่านได้รับฟังจากท่านวิทยากรว่าได้มีการล้างเผ่าพันธุ์เป็นเรื่องจริงครับเป็นจำนวนหมื่นที่เสียชีวิตอพยพไม่เหมือนพวกเรานะครับที่อพยพจากภารตะมาอาศัยแผ่นดินไทยอยู่คนกลุ่มนี้ได้โดนขู่ได้ฆ่าสุภาพสตรีโดนทำนะครับวันนี้พ่อแม่พี่น้องโดยเฉพาะแคชมีรี Brahmins หรือที่เราใช้คำว่า Kashmiri Pandits อยากจะกลับบ้านอยากจะกลับถิ่นที่เขาเคยบรรพบุรุษเขาเคยอาศัยอยู่ผมเคยคุยกับหลายท่านรัฐบาลใต้การปกครองของนายกโมดีก็ได้มีการกระทำหลายอย่างที่จะคืนสิทธิพื้นฐานของพวกท่านทั้งหลายฉะไหนท่านยังไม่กลับคำตอบที่ผมได้รับท่านยังกลัวท่านไม่กล้าเพราะชาวมุสลิมซึ่งประกอบด้วย 97% ของรัฐนี้ยังมีอคติกับคนกลุ่มที่เคยอาศัยแผ่นดินนี้อยู่นะครับมีบางประเด็นที่วิทยากรบางท่านได้พูดถึงกระบบขออนุญาตที่จะขยายสักนิดหนึ่งนะครับท่านบอกว่ามีการฆ่าในปี 1990 จริงๆการฆ่าเนี่ยมันไม่ใช่เพิ่งเกิดขึ้นในปี 1990 นะครับมีมาตลอดตั้งแต่ปี 1948 แต่ช่วงปี 1990 เนี่ยเป็นช่วงที่เขาใช้คำว่า mass exodus โดนบังคับโดนขู่โดนฆ่าจนกระทั่งคนกลุ่มนี้ไม่มีทางเลือกทิ้งบ้านทิ้งเมืองภายใน 24 ชั่วโมงท่านไม่สามารถเอาอะไรทั้งสิ้นเนี่ยขึ้นรถที่ไหนได้ท่านก็ไปขึ้นรถไฟท่านก็ไปบางคนนี่เดินเป็นร้อยกิโลก็จะหาพาหนะที่อพยพนะครับเป็นเรื่องที่น่าเศร้านะครับท่านพูดถึงเผ่าต่างๆนะฮะก็มีพวก Brahmins เราใช้คำว่า minority ก็คือกลุ่มน้อยมี Brahmins มี Sikh มี Dogra กลุ่มที่เราใช้คำว่ามี Buddhist แถวละดากนี่ Buddhist ทั้งนั้นเลยนะครับเคยอาศัยแผ่นดินนี้อยู่แต่โดนบีบโดนบังคับโดนขู่โดนเข็นจนกระทั่งไม่มีทางเลือกวันนี้คนกลุ่มนี้กระจายอยู่ทั่วโลกไม่ได้เต็มใจไปที่ไหนเลยนะครับไม่มีทางเลือกเป็นกลุ่มที่น่าสงสารครับผมถามอยู่ตลอดและสหประชาชาติแชมเปี้ยนของ democracy freedom of the right to live ท่านหายไปไหนซีเรียมีปัญหาท่านร้องท่านพูดแต่สำหรับแคชมีรีพันดิตเนี่ยนอกจากท่านจัดเรื่อง ceasefire เนี่ยท่านไม่เห็นเคยทำอะไรนะครับผมอยากจะขอบคุณรัฐบาลท่านโมดีท่านนำปัญหานี้มาให้ประชาชนทั่วโลกได้รับทราบว่าคนกลุ่มหนึ่งที่เคยอยู่ในรัฐแคชเมียร์รัฐจัมมูแอนด์แคชเมียร์เนี่ยวันนี้อยากจะกลับบ้านผมอยากจะเห็นคนกลุ่มนี้ได้มีโอกาสกลับไปที่บ้านท่านทิ้งทุกอย่างไว้ช่วงที่มีการแบ่งแยกระหว่างอินเดียกับปากีสถานครอบครัวของผมเนี่ยมาจากปากีสถานผมเกิดใน undivided India เหมือนกันครับพวกเราช่วง ช่วงนั้นอพยพแต่ครอบครัวของผมอพยพจากอินเดียมาประเทศไทยนะครับแต่ญาติพี่น้องของผมจำนวนไม่น้อยอพยพจากอินเดียไปที่อพยพจากปากีสถานไปประเทศอินเดียแต่รัฐบาลอินเดียได้มี compensation package ท่านทิ้งบ้านอยู่ที่ปากีสถานพอท่านอพยพมาที่อินเดียรัฐบาลก็ชดเชยหาที่ให้ท่านอยู่ช่วงแรกก็มี refugee camp นะครับในแคชเมียร์ก็มีปัญหาแบบเดียวกันรัฐบาลพอเห็นว่ามีการทรมานมีการข่มขู่ก็มีพวก refugee camps เกิดขึ้นแต่ชีวิตใน refugee camp เนี่ยเป็นชีวิตที่น่าสงสารคนส่วนใหญ่ก็เลือกที่จะไม่อยู่ใน refugee camp เดินทางออกไปแต่ละจังหวัดในประเทศอินเดียนะครับ
คุณสติชนะครับथोड़ा सा just another
ประวัติ
1
ศาสต
minute
ร์ไม่เคยจารึกความเป็นจริงโดยเฉพาะสื่อตะวันตกท่านไม่เคยพูดถึงสภาพของ Kashmiri Brahmins นะครับพอถามถึงท่านก็บอกว่าท่านเป็นกลางแต่ท่านกลางท่านจะซ้ายมากกว่าหรือขวามากกว่าแต่ท่านไม่เป็นกลางพอทางคุณบักชีแจ้งให้ผมทราบว่าท่านกำลังจัดเสวนาแล้วถามผมว่าผมพร้อมไหมผมบอกท่านทันทีว่าผมเองเนี่ยเคยสมัยที่ผมเป็นนักศึกษาอยู่ที่ประเทศอินเดียได้เห็นความเจ็บปวดของ Kashmiri Brahmins ผมอยากจะมีส่วนในการกระจายความรู้ความจริงให้กับโลกนี้ได้ทราบว่าคนกลุ่มนี้ได้ทรมานได้มีความทุกข์และวันนี้ Kashmiri Brahmins อยากจะกลับไปถิ่นที่อยู่ของเขาผมหวังว่าสักวันนี้ในช่วงไม่ช้าคนกลุ่มนี้ที่โดนทุกข์โดนทรมานเสียญาติพี่น้องเป็นจำนวนหลายหมื่นจะมีโอกาสที่กลับไปถิ่นที่ของเขาสวัสดีครับ
ขอบคุณมากนะครับคุณสติชไซเกิลนะครับ you have always been a great spokesman for our Indian and Thai community in Thailand, and you will require a lot of time to speak, I know, but with the time, you could at least finish well in time. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have with us one of the most respected personalities of our country, of India, known as Her Excellency Dr. Kiran Bedi. She is known as one of the most trusted persons in the country. Couple of times there has been nomination in the country to nominate the most trusted personalities of India. And ladies and gentlemen, all the 3 times, whenever this was done in the country, her name was always there among top 3. And I wish to tell you who are the other 2. Other 2 is our great President of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam, and Infosys Chairman, Mr. Narayan Murthy. And Dr. Bedi has been consistently known as the most trusted personalities of the country. She has been the first IPS officer of the country, ladies, and she has been known for her devotion, dedication, commitment towards policing, and policing in a right way. She is a firm believer of developing leaders creating benchmarks, and never afraid of taking certain decisions which are in the interest of the discipline. People called her Crane Bedi when she had that kind of galore and the guts, even to challan the car of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi because it was not parked properly, and she put up a crane and picked it up. And the next day the headlines came, Crane Bedi. And the people in the police force used to get shit scared of her. And when you watch her movie called, which is made by an Australian, Yes, Madam, Sir. Earlier she was called as a girl, then she became Madam, and finally she became Sir. And this gentleman from Australia has made this movie called Yes, Madam, Sir, because then people started calling her Sir. Her colleagues in the police force wanted her 200 feet down the ground because they were shit scared of Kiran Bedi ma'am coming and taking the charge. I have had personal mentoring by her over the last 2 decades. I am her mentee and she has been my mentor. And whatever contribution she has done to my life and to my family, I can never forget. Whatever you see me today, there's some piece of Kiran Bedi ma'am in my DNA. When you look at her, Legacy Award winner of the world, Tihar jail benchmarking, case study of the global world, entire global world looks at the Tihar jail case study, and she was sent on a punishment there, but she turned that punishment into something which was unbelievable, unknown, and unheard. Wherever she went, highly disciplined person, highly dedicated to the cause, and policing, she says, is serving the citizens. And I made a program on policing at the heart of people, because when I admire her as my mentor, and with me, she is today first women power on hashtag women power, a global movement, 20 countries around the world. She is such a passionate person that April 2020, she said, DK Bakshi, please make it a global movement. And today, I proudly say this movement is in 20 countries around the world, only because of Dr. Kiran Bedi. She has been driving now Jyoti Foundation, where I am mentoring, and she is doing school, K-Bad school. And she has been a regular visitor to Bangkok, Thailand. And that's where Kun Satish Saigal, last time I met her at India-Thai Chamber of Commerce. And whenever we call her to Bangkok, our seats, we have to put another 100 seats into the room, and people still stand. That is the power of this powerful women of excellence, women of substance. And this evening, I have requested her to be with us on a solidarity message. And over to you, Dr. Kiran Bedi, ma'am.
Thank you, Bakshi Saab. You know I'm here on your invitation, and your inspiration, your passion, your commitment, your missionary zeal, and your very deep hurt. Because every time I've met you, for somehow or the other reason, the hurt came writ large on your face. You've not been able to heal. I've had the privilege of meeting your family also, your mother, and many members of the family. You are representatives in many ways of that beautiful part of India. It's called the Indian Switzerland. It is so beautiful. And good times I've had the occasion to visit Kashmir, Srinagar, and others for camps. In fact, as NCC camps for my army attachments. That's where we went. It was most beautiful. And when I remember when I used to fly over that place, and having had an occasion to visit Switzerland, I saw that this is my better than nowhere else. It's the most beautiful part of the world. We've trekked it as students. I wish God had taken special care of this heaven on earth. I'm sure it will happen one day, sooner or later, with all your dedication and commitment and passion, that you get your homes back. The Kashmiri Pandits and my Sikh brethren get their homes back. One day, all this evil has to stop. एक दिन कहता है एक दिन अंत का होता है, तो अंत का दिन जरूर आएगा. वो कब आएगा, कैसे आएगा, that only Nostradamus can predict. But अगर हम लगे रहेंगे जिस तरीके से इस वक्त लगे हैं, एक ना एक दिन बदलाव जरूर आएगा. So let's hope and pray that it comes soon. Now, I have read, I've seen your YouTube channel. I've seen what you expressed in that YouTube channel. So it was a very graphic. It was very horrific, very graphic. And see, I'm also from Amritsar. You saw Kashmir. I'm aware of what happened on the border of Amritsar when the partition happened. India has had through partition has been exceedingly vile. We fought through non-violence movement, but partition actually took a very heavy toll on India. The division of Bengal, the partition on the Punjab side, and the horrific things which happened in Kashmir. So it's been at a very heavy cost. This partition, this independence has not come, it has come at a very heavy price of different regions of this country. And the partition wounds in Punjab, and you see the Milkha Singh story. Could he ever forget it? Even till the time he was so high in age, he couldn't forget what happened. And his movie becomes now a visual, it's a living legend now that we can always feel it and hear it and see it. So I want to thank the global Kashmiri Pandit diaspora of GKPD Thailand for organizing this. And I know you're steering it and your friends in Thailand are. Let me recognize with great respect the presence of Mr. Jeevan Zutshi, the GKPD coordinator of US and California, Mr. Utpal Kaul, GKPD international coordinator, Dr. Shafalika Bhan Kotwal, GKPD coordinator UK, Mr. Ash Raina, GKPD coordinator Australia, Mr. Vidya Bhushan Dhar, GKPD coordinator Canada, Mrs. Vanishka, GKPD Youth Wing, and Mr. Satish Sehgal. Thank you for remembering me, Mr. Sehgal, for your kind words. I wish things were, COVID actually took away another tone and that all our traveling got affected. Had it been normal years, perhaps you could have come to Pondicherry if I were when I was there, or I could have traveled. But anyway, but thank God we're all out of COVID, and India is proudly celebrating. It's the 100 crore vaccination country's largest billion people having been vaccinated. So it's one of the largest vaccinated country in this world. And the credit goes to every Indian, as our Honorable Prime Minister said, starting with his leadership, his visionary, his foresight, his capability of bringing teams together and getting things done and providing the resources. 100 people being vaccinated, 100,000 vaccinated, 100 crore vaccinated, and also free of cost. The country paid for a single vaccination, and one of the vaccine, two. One is, of course, jointly, the one is being created in India. So it's a proud day, very proud day for all of us Indians and Indians anywhere in the world. Sehgal Sahab, I have these few ideas to give you without going back to the agony and the tragedy. I have pinned down a few points. What is that I can contribute? Number one, I was thinking, if it isn't existing already, that work on a documentation, because something like your YouTube channel tells us, let this be made anywhere. It doesn't matter whether you do it here in India or overseas. We need the documentation for easy history. So easy history means a documentation. It means a slideshow. It means a documentary film. So if these documentary, the truth, based on evidence, let the documents of Raja Hari Singh signing be made available easily. You click and it comes, but through a documentation. Then what happened in the immediate independence attack, when it was Srinagar was attacked and Srinagar was saved, and the other part of India of your portion was very badly affected. So I'm for documentation. Whatever the documentation, it should be clicked. Now, if it's existing, update it, make it from a student-friendly point of view, common person's friendly point of view, languages also, so the world over can see what you're telling. Let it be seen today on the YouTube channels. It's like a whole channel. So, Bakshi Sahab, aise hain kafi sare? Do they exist?
I have a lot of it, and in fact, Kashmir Files is a movie made by Vijay Agnihotri as well as Pallavi Joshi. Right now, it is being shown in America. They are right now in USA, and they will be moving to other parts of the world. And Kashmir Files is going to be one of a powerful documentary of Kashmiri Pandit exodus.
It is being made. That means it's being made.
Yes, movie has been made already. It is being shown in US right now.
Why not why not available for world over for seeing?
Yeah, it will be now available. It is being shown in US, UK, and other parts of the world, and it will be available to the global world.
So that means it's yet to make it global. It's yet to be global.
It's yet to be global.
So Kiranji, it is a phase-wise. It's a phase-wise premiere.
Phase-wise premiere happening from the US, and it's going to be global.
All right. And till then, why not have a very good voiceover slideshow?
Yeah, we do have. We did last year in COVID. We did a big event, Kashmir.
The Kashmir Festival.
On the Kashmir Festival, wherein we shared with the global world. And there was, I think Shafalika can tell me and Ash can tell me, I think there are about 2 million people around the world watched our this Kashmir story of entire 1 month, every day in the evening. That's also available on this thing. And
do we click YouTube Kashmir channel? Can we have it?
Yes, we are in the process of creating that. What you saw was my YouTube, where a couple of things on 370 article, 35A removal, as well as last year Exodus, this 22nd October was done.
Shafalika ji, you want to talk about
Kashmir,
the
excuse
Kashmir
me,
Festival?
Bakshi Sahab, Kashmir File is available. It was with I Am Buddha, with Agnihotri. It was GKPD and I Am Buddha. There are 30 episodes, and all aspects are, we have made all aspects, 30 aspects. It was 1 month show. And then there is a lot of material, but we have to systemize it. And about Kashmir File, that will be released on 19th of January here in all over India. It is now in America, it will go to Europe, and then on 19th, it will be a big show all over India.
I think that's the occasion which is awaited. And I think we've lost so many years doing this. This is something
there are many things have already been done. There are nearly 500 books have been published on Kashmir exodus and about Kashmiri Pandit and our situation, our genocide. Lot of material, lot of interviews, but we have to systemize it. We have to make it system, as you said, that there should be a one click and everything should be available. We have lot of material and with evidence.
Okay.
So, Mr. Kaul, this is exactly what I was talking about, that this is something which should be made available. Now, this could be a student edition. Let the youth understand, and it could be in all languages, including Urdu.
It is in 3 languages till now. It is in English, it is in Hindi, and it is in Kashmiri. Yeah, we have many. Maybe we have nearly 200 to 300 YouTube videos with us, but we will have to make it in a system.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion from Dr. Bedi. We need to consolidate and tell the world. Yes, Dr. Bedi, please go ahead.
Then I need something like this on Kashmir.
Yes.
I want these freedom fighters of Kashmir.
Yes, ma'am. I will be meeting and talking to you and discussing this. Sure.
So,
ऐसी भी किताब बनानी है. We need to have the talented people. In fact, this is called work with Amar Chitra Katha.
Yes.
Yes.
Work with them and come up with such like stories.
Yes, ma'am.
Those who bring and then the illustrious pundits of Kashmiri pundits of India. Why not?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
see,
We
the
will.
key today, understanding the problem, changing let people understand, let people read, understand and grasp it, and then speak for you or speak for a cause.
Okay.
But if you don't know the cause, then they'll be quiet because they may go wrong. They're afraid कि मैं गलत नहीं बोल दूं, मेरी गलती नहीं हो जाए. But अगर मैंने इसको पढ़ लिया तो मैं कहूंगी मैंने ये पढ़ा. So that's what I'm saying. Amar Chitra Katha could be your partners.
Yes.
Very good
I
suggestion,
will
yeah.
be meeting you personally. I will get Utpalji also with me. Let's move ahead. Yes, you're right, ma'am. We take your point very seriously. Thank you very much for this point. Yes,
No,
ma'am.
I'm only, देखो मुझे जब भी बुलाते हो तो गलती करते हो because homework मिल जाता है.
हाँ, बिल्कुल मिल गया.
Their homework.
I salute you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So it's about
Yes,
a
ma'am.
documentary film. It's about a slideshow.
Yes.
It's about these kinds of kathas
Yes,
where anybody can read in 15 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
This book of India's valiant women.
Yes,
I released it about 3 months ago of Amar Chitra Katha.
Yes,
Valiant
ma'am.
women.
Yes, ma'am.
You can
Yes,
have
ma'am.
valiant Kashmiri Pandits.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
can have valiant Bakshi family in this. What you talked about your grandfather. I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
so many things can be part of this history. Unless
Yes.
you have this available
Yes, ma'am.
easily, we are dealing in ignorance.
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
we're talking about listening to each other, but we're not.
Yes.
We are wondering, have I got the right thing? So I think dissemination of this is my second suggestion.
Yes, ma'am.
Then third is, of course, make children books with Amar Chitra Katha. That was it. Fourth was what I said: heroes history, work with Amar Chitra. So heroes.
Yes,
Then comes fifth. My fifth suggestion is that we have NGOs support to families in skill development for unit-wise. It's like NGOs outside Kashmir.
Yes, ma'am.
But all NGOs, each NGO, somewhere or the other, skill development may adopt a family.
Yes, ma'am.
So families which are looking for skill, which economic increases informal economy of Kashmir.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's not leave any family poor.
Yes, ma'am.
So can we have NGOs around the world adopt that means families needing this kind of skill. So that means a data bank.
Yes, ma'am.
So NGOs in India,
Yes, ma'am.
NGOs overseas,
Yes, ma'am.
pick up work with these families directly, without making noise about it. Strengthen that means India for Kashmir, India for J&K.
Yes,
So India for people particularly affected in the border areas, work one-to-one on families so that they are skilled, whether they are in plantation, whether they are in craft, whether they are in carpet weaving, whether they are in agriculture, whether they're in farming.
Yes.
We need to have an earning member in every single family. That means they are not dependent on the law and order. They will generate their own wealth. They're not poor.
Yes,
in fact,
ma'am.
Kashmir is not poor. It's said Kashmir, there's enough there. But we need to skill these men and women and even educate. So can NGOs be linked with Kashmir? NGOs outside Kashmir,
Yes, ma'am.
adopting families.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The audience in the room is listening to you with complete thought, and they are listening very strongly what your ideas are. The audience comes from Thai community, Thai Indian community, and Indian expatriates. They are passionately looking at you and taking these thoughts very
No,
strongly.
I'm only looking at immediate solutions. And while India as a government, India as a nation takes on the hostility on its neighbors, with its neighbors or around the neighbors. While that is another part, what we as ordinary citizens can do, I'm only looking at that.
Yes, ma'am.
So therefore, NGOs playing their own roles and adopt it. So maybe you can adopt a Kashmiri family or support a family or don't support a family. It's like Kashmiri families, your friends. It's like twining. In twining, we've already done twining. Our prime minister's done twining.
Yes.
He's got a twining program. Every state is twining with another state for exchange of students going to each other for tourism, for cultural exchange. Like Pondicherry is twining with Lakshadweep. So Lakshadweep students, etc., they are joining. They are coming to Pondicherry, and Pondicherry students are going. It's an student exchange program.
Yes, ma'am.
So
We are
they
doing a
have
lot of work.
they have a
We are
Hindi
doing-
program. Naam mujhe bhul gaya is waqt.
We
So
do
we
a lot of
could not-
programs. This even during the COVID, we picked up. We did along with the I Am Buddha Foundation and Anupam Kher. We did a big concert wherein we picked up money and we are helping those who lost their parents during the COVID. So it's a huge money we picked up, and we are taking care of those children whose parents have been lost. So we do that, and that's also happening. There are a lot of things. I think we will have to share with you what all has been done till now. But then your ideas are brilliant, just brilliant, man.
I'm sorry, I have very little knowledge about this. All I
Yes,
know
ma'am.
as a police officer, what's been happening there.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes,
I know the possible reasons. And the
Yes.
biggest reason, which has come from my police colleagues, has
Yes.
been corruption.
I know. ma'am.
All these years, if we had not had corruption in the system, we wouldn't have been this far.
Yes.
It's been the easiest vested interest, how they were looting everything, which is the way we were pumping in money, but the money was being looted. I know about that. I know it from the terrorist angle, where my colleagues have been sharing. And the crux was corruption.
Corruption. Yes, you are right.
And corruption and remember, the fish rots from the head.
Dog.
It was always the head, which
Dog.
was rotting. All these years, the heads were rotten heads.
That is
which
what has happened.
actually, that is what has led. So where you are controlling corruption now, where you're controlling diversion and leakages, and when you started to look at the controlling of the finance, which is oxygen is finance, that is when when it started to get throttled. But it took us so long to reach that. Till then, huge amount of damage had happened. So that is, I'm not talking about that. I'm only talking about what can we do in the given circumstances. And last but not least is economic strength. How do we, as Indians outside, see the biggest fight for any enemy outside is your internal strength. And that's the economic power. India, if once it becomes, and that's the biggest threat to the neighborhood, is economic power. If India becomes a strong economic power, which it is moving towards a 5 trillion economy, once we keep moving towards the way we are digitizing, the way we are reinvesting, the kind of policies which are being announced every second day. Today, I'm amazed every second day, the way the whole defense production, the way the defense production has the kind of disinvestments which are happening in this country. In another 2-3 years, I have no doubt, if God is very kind and things remain under control, we will move towards a 5 trillion economy. And that to me is the biggest protection.
Yes, ma'am.
Internal strength and internal economy. That means any Indian anywhere looks at two things, is to strengthen himself in such a way that he and the country is interlinked with growth and progress. So I think this is my last and finally, my appeal to everybody is, when it comes to Kashmir, every Indian, be it a political party or be it of any interest, it should be one Kashmir. It's love Kashmir. It's safety for Kashmir. It's a revival of Kashmir. It's happiness for Kashmir. It's prosperity for Kashmir. They talk indoors. Differences of opinion be talked indoors. But अपने घर को की चादर, अपने कपड़ों को मत बैठाओ बाहर. If you love your body, why would you go naked? If you love your body, why will you go naked? Go inside and handle, but don't show it to the world that look, this is what's happening. So I think that's another requirement, is one voice when it comes to dealing with Kashmir, because there are still vested interests which will be. So these are my few thoughts I thought I would suggest. As you know, I have a limited knowledge about the insides of this. You are the affected. I've been a witness and observer. And as a cop, yes, getting to know what's happening to my colleagues there who come and go and when we exchange programs. So thank you once again, Bakshi Saab, for giving me this opportunity and giving my very common views and sharing them with the group and the diaspora.
Thank you, ma'am. Please stay back for a few minutes And thank you, ma'am, for your wisdom, for your words, which you gave us some suggestions. We will take it forward. I will personally meet you and take it forward. In the meanwhile, please stay for a few more minutes. We are closing now. Can I request from the audience, Alka Gupta ji and Deepa Singh ji to come, and they have a patriotic song. Can they come to the dais, please? Quick one. Alka Gupta ji and Deepa Singh ji, the two Indian women power in Thailand. Please come to the stage. And ladies and gentlemen in the audience and on the Zoom, please unmute yourself. Let's sing the song along with them together. This is a very powerful song. I have been singing it at many universities, many business schools, many corporate houses, because before getting to the business,
समय की सीमा है, इसलिए संक्षिप्त में ही ये जो भी ये कार्यक्रम में होगा। कश्मीर हमारा ताज है, कश्मीर हमारा क्राउन है, मुकुट है, और कश्मीर के भाई बहन हमारे जेम्स हैं, नगीने। कहते हैं कि इतिहास अपने आप को दोहराता है, तो इतिहास हमारा जो गौरवपूर्ण हमारा जो इतिहास रहा है, भारत का इतिहास, वो फिर से आएगा। भारत पुनः विश्व गुरु बनेगा। और ये क्यों बनेगा? क्योंकि अब अच्छे दिन आ चुके हैं।
बिल्कुल।
ये जो 4 मिनट आगे के होंगे, इसमें एक गीत के माध्यम से भारतवर्ष के गौरवपूर्ण अतीत को मैं बताऊंगी, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ मुझे आप सब से, जितने यहाँ पर ऑडियंस है, एक छोटा सा प्रॉमिस लेना है। क्या आप सब 4 मिनट मेरे साथ रहेंगे? तालियों के साथ हाथ उठाकर बोलिए, हाँ हम रहेंगे। और जब मैं हाथ उठाऊंगी तो आपको ये बोलना है, वो भारत देश है मेरा। और ये इसकी गूंज इतनी तेज होनी चाहिए कि 3000 किलोमीटर दूर बैठे हम भारत के सपूत, हमारे देश की मिट्टी हमारी तालियों की गड़गड़ाहट से उड़नी चाहिए, उसकी खुशबू बिखरनी चाहिए।
Jeevan Zachi साहब, unmute yourself. Everybody to unmute on the Zoom also. Yes, please go ahead. Alka ji, Deepa ji. ये गाना बहुत क्लोज है मेरे हार्ट के साथ, इसके बहुत यूट्यूब से मेरे। चलिए शुरू करिए। Let's be with them. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, everybody to be together with the song. Vanshika, unmute yourself. Everybody to unmute. Jeevan Zachi sahab, unmute yourself. Yeah,
he's doing that, DK, you can start.
Yeah. करिए शुरू। अलका जी, दीपा जी।
गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुर्देव महेश्वरा गुरुर् साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः।
जहाँ डाल डाल पर रोके नहीं हो रहा है आपका।
डाल डाल पर सोने
चढ़िया
भारत
वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा।
जहाँ डाल
डाल पर सोने चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। अहिंसा और का पद लगता मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। जय भारती, जय भारती। आपका करो के लिए चल रहा है शायद। हेलो, हेलो बताइए।
ये धरती वो जहाँ ऋषि मुनि जपते प्रभु नाम की माला। ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम। जहाँ हर एक अलग मोहन है और राधा एक बाला। राधा एक बाला। जहाँ सूरज सबसे पहले आकर डाले
अपना डेरा
वो
भारत देश है मेरा।
वो भारत देश है मेरा।
अच्छा ठीक है, मैं बात कर रहा हूँ।
जहाँ आसमान से बातें करते मंदिर और शिवालय। किसी नगर और किसी द्वार पर कोई न ताला डाले। कोई न ताला डाले। और प्रेम की बंसी जहाँ बजाता आए शाम सवेरा। वो भारत देश है मेरा। वो भारत देश है मेरा। जहाँ सत्य अहिंसा और धर्म का
का डेरा
वो भारत
भारत
देश है मेरा। वो भारत
भारत
देश है मेरा। क्या आप सब एक बार उठकर अपने भारत माँ के लिए एक बार उठकर जोरदार तालियों से वो भारत देश है मेरा 2 लाइन गाएंगे। वो भारत
देश
है
है
मेरा।
मेरा।
वो
भारत देश
है
है
मेरा।
मेरा।
जय भारती जय
जय
भारती
भारत
जय
जय
भारती
भारत
जय
जय
भारती।
भारत
भारत माता
माता
की
की जय।
भारत माता
वंदे
की
मातरम।
भारत माता
माता
की
की जय।
जय
भाई देश की
जय
भाई देश की
जय।
देश की जय
थाई
भारत।
देश की जय, थाई नरेश की जय, भारत माता की जय. Ladies and gentlemen, a quick vote of thanks. I would like to thank Dr. Kiran Bedi for sparing her time to be here this evening with solidarity message and some of great suggestions. I would like to thank Jivan Zuchi from USA, California, Utpal Kaur from International Coordinator of GKPD, Dr. Shepalika Ban Kotwal, GKPD Coordinator UK, Ash Rana from Australia, Vidya Bhushandar from Canada, Vanishka, GKPD Youth Wing, to be there, and our local Kashmiri Pandit, in Thailand, and he would come and share his thoughts. Rohit Kachru, who has been living there 7 years, as well as our Sikh community, past president of Gurdwara, Poharat, Sardar Manjeet Singh ji, and of course, Satish Saigal ji, to be sharing in Thai. I would like to thank each and every audience, sitting in this audience, whom I know personally, 99 to 100%, who have been part of my life the last 17 years. Unfortunately, because of Covaxin, I am not able to fly into Bangkok. This is another politics in the world. And I would like to thank Sushil Dhanuka ji, who has been behind the scene, making it possible that I am in a virtual mode and a physical mode, along with Sushil Dhanukaji, Nagaraji, who has been supporter, and many other people whom I would not like to name because there are many people who have involved. Sushil Dhanukaji and Nagaraji and all the audience sitting in the room at Marriott Yisip Songs, Sukhumvit, for being there. And may I request Sushil Dhanukaji to come to the podium and announce for the next step before we close. Sushil Dhanukaji. Sushil Dhanukaji. You are muted. You are muted.
और मैं पुनः धन्यवाद देता हूं कि आज इतनी बारिश में और ट्रैफिक में आप लोग आए और हम उन कश्मीरी भाइयों के साथ में खड़े हों और उनके साथ हमारा सपोर्ट रहे, इसके लिए हम बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. अभी कार्यक्रम में क्षमा चाहता हूं, थोड़ा सा विलम्ब हो गया,
हमारे 8 बजे से खत्म होना, तो 8:15 करीब हो गए, लेकिन डिनर लगा हुआ है बगल में। कृपया हर जो भी आए सब लोग खाना खा के जाएं, मेरी ये प्रार्थना है आप लोगों से। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, भारत माता की जय।
जय
भारत माता
जय
की
मातरम।
जय।
भारत माता की जय।
जय।
हाय
ये
देश
मेरा
की,
लास्ट वर्ड है,
हाय देश की,
भारत माता
हाय
माता
देश
की
की जय।
जय
धन्यवाद।
वंदे
मातरम।
मातरम। वंदे मातरम।
मातरम।
Matram.
वंदे मातरम,
मातरम।
वंदे मातरम।
भारत माता की,
जय।
जय
थाई देश की,
जय।
जय
थाई नरेश की।
जय।
जय।
थैंक यू वेरी मच। खापुन मार्क रखा। मैं नवंबर में मिलूंगा आपको, तब तक कोवैक्सीन का अप्रूवल आएगा तो मैं बैंकॉक पहुंच जाऊंगा। ऑल दोज बैंकॉकियंस हु हैव कम टू द रूम, तहे दिल से खापुन मार्क रखा। एंड डॉक्टर किरण बेदी अगेन holding my hands and saluting you as a police officer and all my GKPD people from different parts of the world. Thank you very much. Shubharatri and God bless all of us. Let's keep, yes. Thank you very much.